And we're live. Right today, I'm joined by a man who I'm a very big fan of, a very, very underrated fighter, and that is Darnell Boone. He's fought several world champions, including Andrea Ward, Sergey Kovalev, and Adonis Stevenson, among many others. And he's now got a rap career going on as well. So, how you doing, Darnell, mate?
I'm doing good, bro. How you feeling today?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Just before we get into your boxing career and stuff like that, how you been coping lately? How you been doing recently with this whole pandemic situation? Because I noticed you haven't fought since 2019.
Your your mic went off.
Yeah, mate. I'm just turning it off so yours doesn't so I can hear you all right. I'm just saying how you been doing over the last year, Darnell? Because I noticed you didn't fight in 2020 during this whole pandemic situation. How you been keeping, mate?
Yeah, I've been doing good, man. I'm actually about to open my own boxing gym here in my hometown. So you know what I'm saying. I've been working on that. I'm actually training right now, getting ready for a fight, and they're looking for my opponent. So I'll fight February 20th in Miami. So I just been chilling, man, and pushing my music. You know what I'm saying, stuff that I really didn't get to do. A lot of traveling and everything. So I got to do it while the pandemic was going on.
Well, that's cool, man. And obviously, like Miami and Florida, I've had a couple of guests on from Florida, like Antonio Tarver and Nate Campbell, and I think that the lockdown situation's a little bit more relaxed there than it is in a lot of other states. Am I right in thinking you're from Youngstown, Ohio? And what's it like there at the minute, Darnell?
Well, right now everything is moving. I mean, people still wearing their masks and stuff like that, but for the most part, everything is still moving. But like the bars and stuff, they close early, about 10 o'clock at night. But for the most part, everything is moving like it would normally do. I mean, things ain't just back to normal the way they were, but it's moving.
Oh well, it's kind of been stop-start here in the UK. It's been a bit of a nightmare to be honest with you, mate. But I'm glad to hear you're doing all right. Now I look forward to watching you fight Miami. So, anyways, Darnell, could you just tell us how you got into boxing originally and what was your record before you went pro? What was your amateur record, mate?
Well, I actually got into boxing with my little brother. He actually was boxing maybe 6 months before we even found out. And took him to the gym. You know what I'm saying? Long story short, I ended up calling out the best guy in the gym. You know what I'm saying? So it all started from there. I mean, he backed me up pretty good, but you know what I'm saying? I failed out. You know what I'm saying? So that's how I ended up starting boxing. But you know what I'm saying? It started from taking my little brother to the gym.
So were you boxing a long time before you turned pro then, Darnell, or did you just jump straight into the paid ranks?
No, I actually had 10 amateur fights. I had to go open because of my age, so I had to fight like the better competition, like offhand.
So what was your amateur record then, mate, in your 10 amateur fights?
I want to say it was like 5-5 or like 4-6, something like that.
Well, so you obviously, it sounds like you fought, went straight in at the deep end as amateur, like you have as a pro. But when you turned pro, I think you won your first 4 fights or so, but then you started going like pretty much straight into the deep end, and probably the one of the early big fights that you had was obviously you fought Valid Smic twice. But then you jumped in with Andrea Ward, who was kind of like 6-0, unbeaten gold medalist, who hadn't lost since he was 12 years old. And in that fight, you managed to put Andrea Ward on the canvas. and caused him some real issues. What was that like, mate, fighting Andre Ward? And how did the whole fight come about? How did you get off of this?
Well, the whole fight came about. I remember watching him on the TV, and he was fighting Andy Coley at the time. And I was telling the girl that I was with at the time that I could beat this dude. Sure enough, 3 months later, the fight came about. But when they called for the fight, it was like some time out where I'd have had enough time to get ready for the fight. But they end up waiting all the way to the last minute. So I actually end up fighting Andre Ward on 5 days' notice.
You know what, Darnell? That's a dirty little trick that big-time promoters use, because one of my mates was telling me that he fought like a notable prospect from the UK, and I think they said to him about like 3 months before, "Oh, you could have this fight."
Right.
My friend fought a fighter called Josh Kelly from the UK, and I think they told him about 3 months before, "Oh, you could have this fight." So he was kind of in the gym, but wasn't really training properly. Then 3 weeks before, because they still hadn't told him he had the fight. 3 weeks before, he just started seeing on posters that him and this other kid. So like his manager rang up and was like, "Oh, like, is this fight on or not?" And it was. So that's kind of what they did to you with Andre Ward then.
Yeah, they did that. Cause I kept asking them. So after a while, my trainer said, "Well, we ain't gonna worry about that fight no more." So now I'm not training as hard. I'm not sparring as hard. You know what I'm saying? I cut down running and everything. And then boom, here come the fight again. I'm like, well, let's take it. So I still wasn't in tip-top shape going into the fight, especially at 5 days' notice.
Well, I mean, so then, like, what was the whole kind of situation like? Do you know when you went in, the crowd, the atmosphere, the dressing room, and obviously when you put Andre Ward down and dropped him, what were you thinking, and what were your thoughts about the decision as well? Did you think you did enough, or do you think Ward deserved to win, because it was quite a close fight?
Well, going into the fight, we actually got into it at weigh-ins. You know, because I'm like a jokester. I politic with all the people, and you know, I like to have fun at the weigh-ins. I don't really make it like real serious. So he gonna look at me and tell me looks don't win fights because they made me look serious for a picture. He gonna tell me looks don't win fights. So, you know what I'm saying, we had our little words or whatever, and I told him I was gonna knock him out the next day. But going into the fight, when I dropped him, the place was so quiet. You could hear a pin drop in there. And then when they announced the decision, everybody booed. But I thought I did enough because I know I lost the first 3 rounds for sure. I drop him in the second. I win the fourth with the knockdown, 10-8. I win the fifth round, and I actually hurt him again in the 5th round. And then he holding me a lot and all that in the 6th round. So if I win the last 3 rounds, he win the first 3, I win the fight with the knockdown in the 4th. But you know how the politics roll, you know what I'm saying? He had so much money behind him, they weren't gonna let that happen.
Well, I mean, I thought the same. I thought the same, Darnell. That's how I had the fight scored. I thought you just edged it. Obviously, Andre Woods, you clearly won the 6th round. Obviously, the 4th round because you dropped him, and you clearly won the 5th round. The 6th round was like quite close. I mean, he come back a bit, but I still thought you did enough to just nick it. And personally, I do think you beat Andre Ward. So after that fight, did you start getting more offers, or did you start getting less? Because sometimes I've heard when you fight on the road a lot, that when you put in a good showing like that, you don't get the phone call stops ringing as much.
Yeah, it was like the fight slowed all the way down. I didn't get as many calls as I was getting before the fight. You know what I'm saying? And then I think I didn't fight for like a couple months before the next fight that had came about.
Because what a lot of journeymen tell me is that their kind of goal is just to lose on points, because if they win 2 or 3 in a row, nobody wants to get them in action anymore. So, anyways, what's your best weight, Darnell? Because I've noticed your weight like fluctuates quite a lot, and you're willing to fight all the way down at light middleweight, and sometimes you kind of even fight a cruiserweight. So, what weight class do you prefer to fight at?
My best weight, where everything just clicking on all cylinders, is 168. I'm fast. I'm strong. I'm agile. I can move. You know what I'm saying? Everything is just clicking on all cylinders at 168.
So, not long after this, you fought the Cuban Erislandy Lara, and you pushed him quite hard and lost on points. What did you make of that fight, and how did all that come about, mate?
When I fought Lara, I was actually just getting out of jail. I had did a year stint, and I had fought 2 fights. I think before him, I fought Lewis Turner and I fought Calvin Green. But those 2 guys, they was out just as long as me, or almost as long as me. You know what I'm saying? So it made kind of the player fields kind of easy. When I fought Lara, they got me with the warm up and cool down in the back. So they tell me, well, Boone, you about to go on. I get ready, sweat up real good. We're gonna wait 10 minutes. Boom, get ready. I warm up, get sweaty. We're gonna wait 2 minutes. Like that. So that's how they got me with the Lara fight.
I wasn't aware that you ever went to jail, Darnell. What was that all like, and how much did that disrupt your career, mate? I'm sure when you were inside, people were probably working themselves a bit because you're a boxer, like fancying a going. Like, I'm sure you had to like knock a few kids out on the inside.
You said what now?
Oh, I was just asking, how come you ended up going in jail, mate? Because I never heard about that one before, mate. I never knew that you'd been to prison before, mate.
Oh yeah. Some folks was robbing some people, and since they didn't know who did it, they took everybody that was around.
That's dirty, that, mate. That's a piss take, that, like sending people down for stuff like that. But we'll not go too much into that, mate. But I'm pleased you kind of like start to get back on the run again when you come out. So when you come out, then you fought some other notable names like Adonis Stevenson and Sergey Kovalev. Now, a lot of people thought you beat Sergey Kovalev as well. You dropped Sergey Kovalev, and tell us about that fight and the Adonis Stevenson fight, and what it was like going into those 2, mates.
Well, when I got home, I fought Lewis Turner. Well, I fought Calvin Green. I fought Lewis Turner, and then I lost them 5 in a row. That's when I fought Lara. I fought Edwin Rodriguez. I fought Craig McEwen and all them dudes like that. And then I fought Adonis Stevenson. Then after I knocked him out, they stuck me. Well, a guy that I knew, well, who I thought I could trust, they put me in there with Sergey. And when I beat Sergey, I dropped him actually 3 times. They only got 1 recorded. Like, I dropped him 1 time. I dropped him 3 times. Could have been 4.
Because I know that fight was a split decision. But it's hard to get the footage of it. But so you're saying that you dropped him 4 times. In what round did you start to really get to him, and how did you think that fight went, mate? How would you have scored it?
Well, it was kind of a rough fight because I didn't really have long to really prepare for either one of them. When I fought Adonis Stevenson the first time, I trained myself for 2 weeks. When I knocked him out, I trained myself for Sergey Kovalev. Uh, so it was kind of rough. So I wasn't in full shape like I was supposed to, but the fight was like kind of rough with Sergey the first time, and it took me like a couple rounds to figure him out, to figure out how his movement was, and you know what I'm saying, because I wasn't really in shape enough to do what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? What I could have been doing. So I got tired maybe around the fifth, and we was just in there banging. Where if I was in more shape, you know what I'm saying, I could have, you know what I'm saying, kind of edged it a little bit or did more of what I wanted to do. But I still won that fight. You know, with an 8-round fight, I'm beating you to punch the whole fight, and I drop you 3 times, I win automatic. You know what I'm saying? So they recorded one knockdown, which gave it the split decision. But my sister, she has the footage. She has to look in one of her old phones from around that time, so she can find it. And when I find that footage, I'm gonna put it out there.
Well, I look forward to seeing that one, mate. And well, the whole Adonis Stevenson thing. Obviously, he was a big, like, sort of prospect that was highly touted. Tell us about that. The first time you fought him, and what it was all like going into that fight, and like when you knocked him out and stuff, mate.
Yeah, when I got the call for him, actually the commission called me personally themselves and tried to talk me out of the fight. I told them, nah, I want this fight. Asked me, he said, this guy all big and he's strong. Do I really want to fight him? I said, yeah, I want to fight him. They called me, so I want to see what he's talking about. I'm going to see what he's talking about. So going into the fight, he actually was picking with me, taunting me, and what got under my skin was he asked me when he was walking out the door with one of his friends or somebody. I don't know who it was. He was like, did I need some good luck for tomorrow night? So now that set me in a rage. You know what I'm saying? I said, it's okay. It's okay. I'm gonna knock him out tomorrow. So the next day when weigh-ins came, he you know, we go through the weigh-ins. We sitting at the table, and the ring that they was using, I knew him from a while back. He was like, well, Boone, you got this guy in front of you, Ma. They say he's strong, he this, he that, and he the other. I said, I ain't worried about none of that. I'm gonna knock him out tomorrow. So the next day after that, preparing for the fight, I'm talking about this dude coming in my dressing room, staring me down, like just taunting me. And that fight, he just underestimated me. He tried to make it seem to everybody else like he wasn't ready and that he didn't train and all that was going on. That's bull. You know what I'm saying? They know it's bull. He knows it's bull. You know what I'm saying? Because if he had to beat me that day, it wouldn't have been no excuses ever had. He wouldn't have never said nothing about not training and none of that.
Well, obviously, that he may complain that he wasn't ready, but the fact is that you were never given time to get ready against any of these guys, and nobody knows what you could have achieved if you had been given the time. But since you're one of the few men to fight both fighters, Sergey Kovalev versus Adonis Stevenson, that was a fight I always really wanted to see, and it was probably one of the hottest fights in boxing at one time, but they seemed to just avoid each other. And personally, I thought it was more Stevenson avoiding Kovalev myself. But after the traumatic injuries that Adonis Stevenson occurred against the Ukrainian fighter when he lost the title, obviously Adonis Stevenson will never fight again. But as one of the men who fought them both, who do you think would have won, mate? Between those two?
I always thought that Kovalev would have won that fight because he was the more stronger one out of the two. But Adonis Stevenson had an awkward style. So I don't know, but I always felt that that Kovalev could beat Stevenson.
I mean, with Kovalev, personally, I was kind of from the same thinking as what you are, because they were both massive punchers. But with Kovalev, it seemed to be every punch he threw, he was knocking people out with. Like the jab, he was knocking people out with, like, the backhand, obviously, and every single punch in his repertoire. Whereas with Stevenson, he might have been a little bit faster, but he wasn't as technically gifted, and it seemed to be the overhand left that he actually scored all the knockouts with. But, you know, he was devastating with that punch. So I was always kind of the same opinion as you, Darnell, that Kovalev would have beat Stevenson. But it's nice to hear from you, because it's obviously something I've always kind of wanted to hear from one of the fighters who fought both. Another fighter that you fought, who was rivals with Stevenson, but that fight never happened, is Jean Pascal. What was fighting him like, mate?
Well, when I fought Jean Pascal, I just wasn't ready to fight him yet. He was technically sound. He was strong. You know what I'm saying? He was fast. It's just one of the fights that I lost where I just wasn't ready to fight him yet. I shouldn't have fought him yet.
I suppose I didn't realize you only had 10 amateur fights. So, like, you're going against guys who are kind of Olympic and international amateurs and unbeaten pros, when you're kind of just still like a novice, really. Do you know what I mean? Like, see, Andrea Ward, you wouldn't have you'd have had about maybe less than 20 fights altogether when you fought him, and he'd have probably had 200 or 300. You know what I mean? So it takes some doing. Well, one of the best wins in your career, and another really talented fighter, was your win over Willie Monroe. What did you make of him as an opponent, mate? And how did all that fight come about? And all of that, mate. Give us a little bit of insight.
I don't really remember how that fight came about. But Willie could fight. I like Willie. I still talk to Willie to this day. Even rather on the phone, rather through Facebook, rather through Instagram or whatever. I still talk to Willie. That's little bro right there. You know what I mean? Willie could fight. Well, I don't really remember too much about the fight, but I still watch him. You know what I'm saying? Do his thing with everybody else.
I'm a big fan of Willie Monroe. Like, I think he's really good, and obviously his dad was a great boxer as well. So, given that you've had all these fights and you're still going, what would you see as the biggest regret of your career so far, and what you're hoping to achieve in the rest of your career, Darnell?
I don't regret nothing. Because from the start, I never got in the gym to be a boxer. I was in the streets real heavy. So I ended up getting a job with my family, and I was working real good. I was making good money. And I ended up starting the gym with my little brother just to stay out of trouble. So, you know what I'm saying? Then maybe like 2 weeks being in the gym, I got my first amateur fight just to try it. Like, I didn't know I would even make it this far or even still be boxing. I only really turned pro because I couldn't find a job. So I knew I could make some money being pro.
Well, who would you most like to fight now, if you could call anyone out, Darnell? And what's it? After that, we'll talk a little bit just about your rap career, just so we can put that out there.
Well, with me, I'm willing to fight whoever. Just give me a shot. Put me in position where I can showcase, and give me the same amount of time as them getting ready. You give me the amount of time that for just as them is to get ready, where I can have my own strength and conditioning coaches come in, have my own trainer come in and train me right. I could beat anybody on any given day. You know what I'm saying? But they know this, and that's why they don't give me a chance to.
I don't know if you ever watched this series, right, Darnell, but do you know the Contender series?
Yeah.
Did you ever watch that?
Yeah,
I would have loved to seen you in that, mate. Because I think it would have you would have had a level playing field, and had you done well in that, it would have given you the platform to kind of go on and do something. But
I actually tried to get on there. They put my record in the mix. My record didn't look good enough.
See, man, you know what it is? Some of these like producers or whoever, they just don't have a clue. Like, and it would have been good to have a guy with like a few losses on his record, because you would have been like the wild card. But to me, I probably would have fancied you against most of these guys who've come out the Contender, especially like, you know, if you had a proper training camp. I think you could have beat any of these guys, you know, and then from there, you would have been the name with the draw, and you could have been picking and choosing fights. But anyways, hopefully it comes round again and you get a shot at it. But tell us a little bit about your rap career, mate, because I was just listening to one of your songs before, and it's kind of good if I say so myself. So just tell us about that, Darnell. Where can we find your music, mate?
Well, I actually been writing and rapping since I was 13. A good friend of the family, he was cool with my uncle. He had ended up starting me rapping. First he gave me my first song that I actually, you know what I'm saying, passed down to like some of the other little kids in the family. And then I started rapping with like a couple of my good friends, and I actually started writing and stuff my own self. And that's how my music career started. And then once it was just off and on, just throughout time, I would do shows and I would write a lot. Then when I started boxing, like at the peak of my rapping, where I was getting like real good, boxing kicked off. So rapping like fell to the wayside because boxing was paying the bills. So the CD that I got out now, which is on all the platforms and all the music platforms and YouTube, I actually just put something out just to see what response it would get. I don't even know like how it sound or how. I just know that I posted it everywhere and I'm getting good feedback on it. I mean, you know, you get your dislikes and stuff like that, but that's what helps me get better. I don't want nobody to just tell me that it's good because I'm me. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather take a cruel, harsh truth than a made up lie. You know what I'm saying? And I like to get critiqued on everything because it's how I get better. It's how I improve.
Well, definitely, mate. You don't just want to be surrounded by yes men, but I'm not just saying it to be nice. I thought you had I thought you were good, mate. I was just listening to some of your songs before. I've boxed a bit myself, but what was I going to say? Do you know how you've had such an extensive career? I've noticed you rap very fast, and you have some good lyrics. Are you ever noticed in any way that like your boxing may have slowed down your speech or anything like that? Because I can't tell at all listening to you, but some fighters have had that problem. And like, what do you think about all that? Has that ever concerned you or anything, mate?
Well, for the like I keep telling everybody, even though I have my hard fights, some of them was more brutal than others. But I don't take punishment. Not even in the gym. I don't take punishment. So I don't take a lot of headshots. I got a great defense, and my duck and dodge skills is like superb. So I don't get hit in the head a lot. You know what I'm saying? So that's why my speech is more, you know what I'm saying, put together than other fighters, because I don't take punishment.
What was it? So you like, I know that like you're very close with Kelly Pavlik, and
Yeah.
you've done like sparring with him. What's your thoughts on like sparring? Like, how hard do you think you should spar? Because loads of people have different thinking about it now. Some people just go easy. Some people like to go all out and hard in sparring. And what did you make of Kelly Pavlik against some of the guys who you've fought in your career? How do you think you would have done with that?
Well, Kelly was my first sparring partner from day one. You know, when I first walked in the gym, I was, you know, big bad coming out the streets. I called him out. So he was like my first sparring partner to introduce me to boxing. Like, no, this ain't the street fighting. You know what I'm saying? You got to control this stuff. You know what I'm saying? But sparring with him and getting ready, I had to get good fast, because I was in a gym full of killers. You know, I don't know if you know Billy Lau and Darrell Richardson, but they was real good. They was in the gym with me. Kelly was like the head. He was running the gym. You know what I'm saying? He was like headlining in the gym, rather. And I had a bunch of old school fighters that fought back in their day that was still in the gym too, that was working out. So I sparred with the Ken Sikaranis. I sparred with the Brian Zordages and the Roland Cummins and stuff like that in our gym. You know what I'm saying? So being in the gym with guys that was like that and that were that good, I had to get good fast. You know what I'm saying? I had to figure it out, because I didn't want to keep getting whooped on as the years keep, you know what I'm saying, keep flying past.
Well, it's like if, as I say, if you get thrown in at the deep end, you've got to learn to swim or you drown. But do you think Kelly would have done all right with the likes of Stevenson and Andrea Ward and people like that? And another thing I'd just like to ask you, what do you think about these YouTubers starting to have boxing matches like Jake Paul and stuff? What's your thoughts about that, Darnell?
Far as Kelly being at the 175 rank, I don't know how he would have did, because he was big for 160, but too small for 175. Like 168 probably would have been like his best weight. You know what I'm saying? Because he had a nice frame on him, but he was small at 175. 168 would have been perfect for him. But you can't really put a limit on nobody, because you know everybody excels all them limits all the time. You might think like, look at me. Who would have thought that I would do as good as I was doing against the guys that I was fighting, with them fighting all their life and me just coming into it? So you really can't put a limit on nobody. You can't put no stipulations on nobody, because the stipulations are meant to be exceeded.
So is that what you'd say about Jake Paul as well? Did you see them YouTubers fighting there, Jake and Logan Paul? What do you think about that, mate? Do you like it, or you're against it? Do you think it's stupid?
Well, you know, it is what it is. Everybody is entitled to give it a shot, but to be going around like you the best, you know what I'm saying? That you haven't even broke the ice yet. You know what I'm saying? You fought a dude that played basketball all his life and didn't and really couldn't fight. He didn't look like he trained. Where Jake looked like he was training a little bit. He looked like a beginning amateur. You know, but he did his thing. You got to take your hats off to him for doing his thing. But don't be walking around like this is what you do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the best boxer. Like, he wasn't fair against a guy that has a little bit more bite to him. You know, it'll take a few. But for the caliber where he at, you know what I'm saying, he good. I never saw the brother fight. I just watched Jake Paul fight the night of the Tyson fighting Roy Jones.
I'd say his brother's about the same level, mate. His brother's about the same. He's like they're kind of not bad, but they're just novices, raw novices. They're not exactly proper fighters. And my thoughts are exactly what yours are, mate. To be fair, I think I would knock the pair of them out, but it's like they're just doing it's just money in it. They're just making money from it. So it is what it is, and that's part of the sport. It is a business. But Darnell, I just want to say thanks a lot, mate. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and all the best in your fight next month in Miami, and all the best this year, mate. Take care, Darnell.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on the show, man. I said, thanks for having me on the show, man. I appreciate it. Like I keep telling everybody, it's all about the fans, man. And guys like you that still keep me relevant, still keep me, you know what I'm saying, in the people's faces and keep me in the people's eyes. You know what I'm saying? And I thank y'all, because if it weren't for you guys and the writers and all the reporters and stuff, none of us would be where we are. You know what I mean? So it's always a big thanks to y'all first before anything.
Well, the pleasure was mine, Darnell, and any time we'll have to do it again sometime. Have a nice day, mate. Watch what you're doing, right? See you later. See you.
Yes, sir.